A Tiny Revolution features adults having adult conversations, which means that adult language is probably going to be present, just so you know. Hey friends, you're listening to A Tiny Revolution, a podcast about ordinary people living revolutionary lives. I'm Kevin Garcia, and I am thrilled once again to be with you today. So today's episode is super exciting for me because it is the week that I've launched another Kickstarter campaign, this time with the Innovative Love Coalition. Innovative Love Coalition is a group of LGBTQ Christian creatives, artists, musicians, all that kind of stuff. And we are trying to basically create spaces for queer Christian creatives of all kinds to make art, to collaborate, to network, and to figure out how we can basically start creating better spaces for ourselves. Not to mention, one of our big passions is worship music. And our first big project, the one that we're really pushing for, is our first collaborative compilation album called God, Our Ally. The single is already available on the Kickstarter, and on today's podcast, I've got my friend Kyle Gattison, aka just Gat Daddy, aka Gattison, who is the founder of Innovative Love Coalition, and I'll let him do his own introduction. I'll let him talk about the project. Just know that I am so excited to be sharing this work with you. I'm so excited to be inviting you into this process. And if you're listening, I hope that you get excited too, because this is going to change everything. So go ahead and grab yourself a coffee, grab yourself maybe a breakfast taco if you're listening to this in the morning and you're at home and you have access to things to make breakfast tacos. Anyways, this is my conversation with my buddy Kyle Gattison. If someone doesn't know you, what you're about, you're at a cocktail party, and they say, "Hey, what's your deal? You look interesting." What do you say to them? What's your deal?
Yeah, I totally tell them that, first of all, I'm a musician, singer, songwriter, and I, kind of float in between both worlds as far as mainstream music and worship music. And I love long walks on the beach and eating strawberries.
What kind of strawberries?
The organic kind of strawberries.
That's so California of you.
Yeah, it is.
I love that. So obviously people probably already know from the title of this and from the intro that we're talking about our new project with Innovative Love Coalition, the first album, God Our Ally. But before we jump into that, would you mind give a little abbreviated version of your story, where you've come from, what your journey's been like? Because I know a lot of people would be probably interested to hear that, and I think it all makes sense of why it's led to where we are right now.
Absolutely. So I grew up in the church, grew up in the Church of God in Christ, which is basically just a Black version of the Assemblies of God. It is evangelical, Pentecostal. It is, some people would say legalistic. Definitely, you were not allowed to be queer and Christian. You had to pick. And so my family was heavily involved in the church and come from a long line of singers, worship leaders, all that good stuff. And so anyway, grew up in that environment, would eventually go on to kind of go through a Bible program called Master's Commission, which was through the Assemblies of God, the good old AG. Good old AG. And yeah, come on, AG. And so that's actually where I met Allie. And Allie and I, we were friends. And she's an amazing woman. And one day I sat her down and a couple of close friends, and I told them that I was attracted to men. And I had always known that I had been attracted to men. And, I had always been kind of I'd never really been attracted to women, but my understanding at the time was that I had been taught that you can kind of beat this thing by praying it away and fasting and going to different things
and getting
and
your sozos and getting your
come
inner
on, so
get your inner wounds healed.
come on, you
get
need some inner
get a
healing.
spiritual father who's going to like be sensitive to you,
Yes,
but also toughen you up and make you a man.
yes. I listen, and I went through all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Went through bioreparative therapies. Did the there was a ministry that was under Exodus Ministry called His Ministry,
It was
and
just called
did that.
His Ministry.
Yes, honey, His Ministry.
That's because you know who He is. Oh God.
So anyway, long story short is I told her and a couple of close friends that I was attracted to men. He's struggling. And so anyway, we went on to kind of months later we would actually end up dating.
You and Allie.
And a lot of me and Allie went on to date. I went on to date a woman. She was the first woman in my entire life that I had dated. And so, and at this time I was about 19, 20 years old. And so, long story short is we had mentors who, once they got wind of us dating, they were super excited because I was super open. Oh yeah. We immediately became
the Lord is a miracle worker.
Oh, he's a miracle worker and he works right now.
Come on.
And so, so everybody was so excited and so happy and if I'm being super honest, I was happy, right?
Yeah,
because I was being accepted and it was like, maybe the Lord is healing me. Like, and I learned how to manage, my, quote unquote cravings and the whole thing, right?
It was always like akin to like, oh, this isn't you. It's just, they always like differentiated it between like, this isn't you. This is, part of just your actions. And you can always choose what to do with those attractions. Like,
right.
And you totally just like cut yourself into pieces that way.
Absolutely. And it's I remember hearing, every thought that passes through your mind is not necessarily you. You have the power to either acknowledge that and make it a part of you and act on that,
or bring it obedient. Bring it under obedience in Christ. Take captive.
Right. And so it was really, I mean, hindsight is 2020, right? Like it was really damaging to me in those moments because I was fracturing myself off and I learned how to deny or to put a muzzle on my heart, right?
That is a great way of putting it.
Yeah. And so we went on to eventually get married under the blessing of the church. Right. And yes. And on, June 14th of 2008, Allie was, I want to say she was 19 at the time and I was 21, 22. Mm-hmm. And we went on to get married. And so that started a journey that would last for just shy of 9 years of us being married. And eventually fast forward to about a year before we ended our marriage, we went on this whole kind of discovery process of what we actually believed about the Bible and homosexuality and what the Bible had to say about it. And there's a lot of things that led us to that point. But the bottom line is that on February 21st of 2017, Allie and I decided to end our marriage. And we are best friends. She lives right next door to me. We raise our kids together and, we've kind of created this, for lack of a better term, modern family. And we feel very passionate about telling our story and about raising awareness, and facilitating healthy conversation around, the idea of mixed orientation marriages.
Right. Cause I've talked to so many people who, actually, I won't say that. Like, I know so many men who were formerly married to women who
Yes.
came out on the other side of this with like absolutely no relationship with their
Yes.
partner, because for them, like, you know, for one reason or another, they didn't go on the journey with them. And
Right. Right.
or like, you know, started going on the journey, but then social pressure kicks in and just like,
Yeah.
so like, that's such a beautiful story, because I think that's like at its best what it could be.
Right. Right.
But it just breaks my heart that like, because for so many of us, like, someone wants to assign blame to something.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
people want to
Oh
assign
yeah.
blame to the person who's queer and leaving the marriage because, like, you know, they didn't
Right.
tough it out enough, they didn't try
Right.
hard enough. But really, you know, I think so. Like, one of my friends once said that the best way to honor her marriage, to honor her husband at the time, was to, you know, dissolve their marriage, to give
Right.
them their best chance at finding love, because that person deserves to be loved, you know,
Absolutely.
the way they deserve to be loved, you know?
Absolutely. And I think it's such a real thing. You know, from our experience, the social pressure that Allie went under because she supported me and because she was an ally. I cannot tell you the comments that that people said to her. I can't tell you what people said about us and our family and this, that, and the other. It was horrendous. And really, honestly, what I told her is like, this is basically you, as you're experiencing what it feels like to come out, essentially.
Yeah, in some ways,
Right.
yeah. Because like
You know, and
the very definition of solidarity is to be willing to experience the same consequences as those
exactly.
whom you love.
Exactly. And I think it was a painful thing, because for her, you know, not all of her family was on board, right?
Right.
Like, you know, she lost a lot of relationships too. And to stand with her through that, and for her to stand with me through that, it drew us closer together. And so, you know, when we say we're best friends, it's not like a cute little thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like we've been through hell and back, and here we are.
And you got two little babies that I just think are the cutest little snickerdoodles.
Yes, those little caramel drops. They're so beautiful.
Little caramel drops.
Yes, that's what we've called them that before they were born. Little caramel drops, and we love them so much, and we think they are developing into being the best human beings on this planet, and are going to have such a unique experience.
Yeah.
And going to be ambassadors of love, and that's what we're hoping for.
You better come through. You better train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are older, they will not depart from them. Hallelujah.
They will not depart.
Listen, that's another thing. You like me. You real churchy.
Oh yeah.
So,
come on, somebody.
Come. It's the best thing and the worst thing, because people just don't know how to handle us. But like,
right.
And they also, I think there's also like this like perception that just like I think queer Christians are the most churchy people, because like we kind of love playing into like because we acknowledge the stereotypes for like how ridiculous they can be, and also acknowledge like, you know, we know like that person is our auntie or our mama or our grandma. Like,
listen,
and so like for us, like it's as much as a part of our like spiritual vernacular as is like, you know, really deep inclusive theology. You know,
absolutely. I love it all.
Everything belongs. Speaking of everything belonging, I think queer people belong in worship spaces, don't you?
I do. I happen to really believe that.
Wow, what a great and totally natural segue into
it was.
Listen, my favorite thing about making a natural segue is to like point out how forced it was, and it makes it more so you and I connected through our mutual friend and friend of the podcast, Darren McKenna.
Yes.
So Darren is going to be on the podcast. Was he already on the podcast? See, this is what's wrong with me, is I can never remember what I've actually put out. No, Darren McKenna's going out next week. LOL. Don't be mad, Darren. Darren's going out next week. But you and I connected through Darren McKenna, who is one of the pastors at New Abbey in Pasadena / North Hollywood. And he said he's doing this new thing. It's definitely worth checking out. And then you and me got on a phone call and basically said, "Oh shit, we have the same vision."
Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
I'll let you talk about it, because you come from worship world. You come from like being somebody who's like in the industry and like around, worship music as a scene. And then
right.
upon your coming out, things change, right?
Yeah, things drastically changed. And so, a little bit about my background, just to give context, is that, I was super heavily involved in ministry, worship ministry in particular. I was kind of like a traveling worship minister. At the same time, I was involved in different ministries, particularly Jesus Culture, and they're an amazing ministry and all that good stuff as far as worship is concerned. But when I went through everything that I went through, that was no longer an option. So,
right.
So I went on this journey, as you can imagine, to figure life out. And I think every person that kind of comes out could relate to this. You kind of, especially if you were involved in ministry, you kind of feel like, what the hell just happened? Like all of my hopes, dreams, and everything that I built, is literally crashing to the ground.
Yeah.
And there's
it's also this feeling of just like, I'm not good at anything else because I've given my whole damn life to the church.
Yes. Literally decade. Well, I won't, never mind. Scratch that from the record. I will not age myself. But I literally years and years of a ministry, literally like years and years of ministry and giving everything that you have to the church, and to, at the end of the day, feel like you just don't even belong and there's not a space for you, right, is really hard to deal with, and it's really hard to process.
It's not just hard to process, it's trauma. Like you're
losing
your family, your spiritual family, and like the place where you became enmeshed in what you perceive to be God and the divine and
absolutely
the will of God, quote unquote, the
right,
will of God.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, you're questioning everything. You're questioning how you hear from the Lord. You're questioning how you could ever have given all your life to this and then end up like this. And you're questioning everything. And I think for me personally, it was like, I just feel like I didn't have a future in ministry in particular. Like I felt like that was just over. It was done. And so for a while, I just kind of went into this place where I was just trying to sort through my family because, we had our own things that we needed to, make sure that were happening and all that kind of stuff, and getting on the same page and dealing with like comments from other people and all that kind of stuff. So I was just focused on that. But about a year and a half into it, I was like, I found New Abbey. That's the church that I attend. I found New Abbey, and I kind of was like, wow, this is amazing. There's a space for, queer Christians and allies to be together, and it's beautiful. And it was that same weekend, I believe, it was the same weekend that I went to New Abbey, that I had the day before, I think it was a Saturday, that me, Allie, and the kids went out to Disneyland. Oh. And of course, everything beautiful and good in this world happens at Disneyland.
Oh, of course.
So I was talking to Allie, and I was just talking to her about like the future, and we were in such a good place, and we felt like we just finally found our stride, and all that good stuff. So we were starting to dream about the future, and I was like, there's something inside of me that really wants to create a space. And I feel faith enough. I feel faith rising inside of me. I'm getting a little churchy, but I feel enough faith inside of me to be like, yeah, maybe there can be a space for people, for all people, no matter what their background is, no matter what sexuality they are, whatever, they have a place to be able to worship God. Come on, somebody, in spirit and in truth.
Yes, come on.
And so I was like, we need to reclaim that. That's something that has been dead, that needs to be resurrected.
And also something that's been taken from so many people, because like
yes.
you're told, somebody like you, someone with your queer body, someone with your brown
Right.
body, your fat body,
Right.
your
Right.
disabled body, you're not allowed to come into these places.
Right.
Yeah, keep going.
Absolutely.
You're on a roll right now, Pastor.
Yes. So we were like, so we're at Disneyland, and I remember it was the Peter Pan ride. Come on, somebody. So we're at the Peter Pan ride, and I remember telling her, like, I want to create this space that really majors on love. And it's really about being inclusive and coming back to this idea, which is a revolutionary idea that Jesus had about loving your neighbor as you love yourself, and even more radically, being able to love in such a way that you would even be able to love your enemies. Mm-hmm. And what would it look like to have a space for creatives to be able to reintroduce the love of God to the world around us? Mm-hmm. And what would it look like to mobilize and empower creatives to almost declutter? There's so much baggage that comes with, when you say Christian or church, mm-hmm. There's so much baggage that comes with that. And there's so many people that are so repelled and turned off and, quite frankly, just disgusted mm-hmm. when they hear those words, because there's so much that, and this is just my personal opinion, there's so many sins that have been committed in the name of Christianity.
That's not an opinion. That is fact, Mama.
It's fact. And this is the thing, is that I think we have such a beautiful opportunity to reintroduce love. And so thus, Innovative Love Coalition was birthed that day. And it started with an idea. And by the end of the weekend, we had a logo, a website, and I was talking to people the next week about this thing. Yeah. Yeah. And so we basically said, hey, like, how could we, for me, Innovative Love Coalition, some of the things that we do are geared towards the church, and some of the things that we do are geared towards just our communities, right? Mm-hmm. And with the intent in both of those areas to reintroduce love, right? Mm-hmm. Reintroduce a more cohesive, a more accurate reflection mm-hmm. of what love is. Yeah. And so, but one of the things I think, kind of partly strategic and partly recognizing that there was a need. Mm-hmm. I was like, we need to kind of do something that galvanizes, that draws together the community and puts creatives together. And so I was like, what if we just did a worship compilation album mm-hmm. that featured openly queer worship artists and their allies. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have these ideas and you're like, yo, this is totally not my idea. I pulled this out of the atmosphere. This is something that
it's something that I will say, just like, I'm a big fan of the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and something she talks about with, like, ideas like this is that sometimes they float around and talk to multiple people at a time. Because you know how many people have said, I've been thinking about this. I have been waiting for this. I have been wanting this. I feel like God sometimes along is like starting to whisper in so many people's ears. And it's like, who's the one that's going to say yes?
Right.
Or, who is the person that the Spirit is going to come to that has the resources, the connections, the wherewithal to just start moving the pieces around. Because a lot of, like, I'll admit too, it's just like this whole project since we started, like, the connections we've made, the realizations of people that we were already connected to. Right. It was already like the pieces were already there. It was just kind of like we just had to set the table,
Right. Exactly. And I think that's the beautiful thing about it. I think that's such the beautiful thing about it, is that to be able to partner in that way mm-hmm. with something that is bigger than yourself mm-hmm. Is just it's a divine experience, right? And I think that we all long in some way to partner in this journey called life with the divine experience, right? Something that's bigger than ourselves, something that you know, just gives to the world in a way that we're able to leave a mark on this world, and we're able to leave it better for the generations coming. And so I think for me, it's just an honor to be a part of it. And it's one of those things where it's like, this is not about me doing something. This is about, for me, my heart is that this is about us as a community, as a church, right? Coming together and saying, what we've done in the past as far as traditional Christianity, it's time to evolve. It's time to move forward. It's time to say that at the end of the day, you know, people that are in the traditional church have come up to me and been like, you know, brother, the word of the Lord, it never changes. Come on, somebody. The word of the Lord, it never changes. And so you can't add anything and you can't take it away. And my reply to them all the time is, I absolutely agree with you. The word of God never changes, but our perspective, our interpretation of what the scriptures have always been trying to tell us has traditionally changed. It has routinely changed. It's
they forget, like, from the inception of the church, you know, on the day of Pentecost, they didn't have systems and denominations set up. So the way that we do church now is not like, everyone's like, we want to get back to the church. And I'm just like, so you want to be on the run and you want to be like thrown to the lions? Dope. Right. Yeah, let's do it. No. Right, let's do it, right?
And
so, like, the thing is just like the way that we interpret scripture has even changed within the past century. Like,
absolutely.
For example, I always point to people, I'm just like, do you realize how stigmatized divorce was for so long?
Right.
Do you realize how we viewed you know, people who remarried, people who had blended families?
Oh my gosh, women in ministry. How about how we freaking like use the Bible to enslave Black people? I mean,
true. Yeah, it's exactly that. And for them, they won't ever make the connection to.
Right.
It's like, I always tell people, I'm just like, when you use the same critical lens to like unpack all this stuff around race and gender, the natural conclusion is that you're going to start interrogating other things. So that's the whole thing about waking up, about reintroducing people to love. I think it's almost just like, y'all know deep down, like there is a divine spark in everyone. Y'all know deep down. And that's why I think there's so many people who are, you know, loving but not affirming, because they think it is about these outright bigoted actions around like, I'm not like them. I'm not like Westboro Baptist showing up to picket the pride parade. No, I'm not talking about those persons. I'm talking about like the every single day person who has a gay friend, who has a gay parishioner who they love so much, but they don't know what to do with. What I think this project does what I hope that this project does is two things. Kind of like model what ministry can look like when like we get past the question of whether queer people are accepted.
Yes.
You know, I'm just like, I'm so tired of having conversations about the validity of queer identity.
Right.
Like I would even say that certain there's a book called Queer Theology Upon Apologetics, or Beyond Apologetics.
Okay.
That would suppose, that says that the mere fact that we're still talking about whether or not queer people should be involved is an insult.
It is.
And I'm like, yeah, can we get beyond that? I'm just like, I want to work with dope artists, period. And like, granted, I'm someone who's always going to champion queer people because like we don't have enough space. But like, hell, like if you anointed, like, come on to work with me.
Right. And this is the thing. I think again, it's this, for me, what makes this project such a gem is that we have these queer people who have, in a lot of ways, like you were saying, been snatched, been ostracized, been thrown away, cast away from ministries that they were heavily involved in, and not only heavily involved in, but heavily contributed to. That quite frankly, on the backs of some of these queer people, ministries have been built. And we have them coming to the table, and what I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with some of these worship artists who have said this project for them is really a full circle, and it's redemption at its finest, as far as God redeeming things in their life that they thought that they would never be able to participate in a meaningful way. And so I think that's a beautiful thing. But I think what even takes it deeper is that we have not only a space for queer people to express themselves, write, produce, and sing. But then we have allies not being silent anymore. Because I'll tell you this one thing. For me, when Allie and I came out, it wasn't really there. Obviously there were harmful things that were said, but if I'm being really honest, the things that hurt us the most were actually the silence, the deafening silence from people who we thought would be there forever. We would bury these people. These people would bury us. We would marry their children. They would marry our like we thought that these people were our community. The silence, the deafening silence from them was almost unbearable. And so for me to have allies a part of this and saying we will be silent no more, and we will partner, not only do a cute little Instagram post or a Facebook post or a story, but to actually put our talent, our energy where our heart is.
Yeah, and also like our names. Our reputation.
Absolutely.
I always tell people, I'm just like, put your body where your politic is.
Absolutely.
Like, it's like I am like that to me is like a step towards solidarity. It's like saying again, like, because I believe in queer, like in the inclusion of queer people, like I'm going to intentionally put my face and my name and my breath into something that needs to happen. And I think that that's the thing, is just like queer people are magical. I will always like advocate for like queer people, queer people, like, and I also know that like, the kingdom of God is made up of every single one of us. And like we cannot and we will not turn the tide of inclusion without them, without these people, like there is a bug on the inside of my lamp.
Oh God.
I'm fine. I'm okay.
Oh my God.
Jesus, if I die tonight, listen, you can have my essential oil collection.
Yes, essential. I love essential oils.
Yeah, it's all witchcraft though, so. But yes, it's I think that's something special too, because like I'm ready, because I always tell people, allies, I'm just like, listen, just like if you want to show up, if you want to know what solidarity looks like back my projects. Right. Like, and that's the thing, is just like I love our queer Christian family.
Yeah.
We all broke as a joke sometimes though, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just like when there's an opportunity to back someone's Kickstarter, when there's an opportunity to back someone's Patreon, like you're not just investing in, like you're basically investing back in yourself.
Absolutely.
Is one thing. Like you're investing into the quality of the community, and also like having resourcing our community, because yes, this movement has been going on for a while, and that's also something too. Like we got a little feedback initially on, is that like this is not the first queer Christian worship album. No. True story. Because like, yeah, so, and I think what's cool about this is that, and what's cool about this and what sets it apart is people are right. It's not the first queer Christian worship album. That was a copy problem on my end, because I got overzealous when I was like writing it. Because of course, like, of course you want to say you're the first ever. Right. But we're not. Like, there's bands like The Many. There are artists who have come out, who have lost like, a lot of their platform after coming out. Yeah. And I think we owe so much to them, like, like the Vicky Beachings of the world.
Absolutely.
For like, for like literally being the singer songstress of the evangelical church and then losing it all. Absolutely. To like, God, what was her name? I'm going to look it up real quick. Don't move. Male. And Kevin, later you can edit this if you want to. Only before now. Oh yeah, so these are the people like, people like Jennifer Knapp, Vicky Beaching, Ray Boltz, Marsha Stevens, who was like the OG of contemporary Christian music. Right. Like the modern Christian music started because of her, and she came out as a lesbian in the 70s, and like, just kind of got lost to obscurity in some ways, but now like she's finally starting to like do some real shit. And so like it's one of those situations like I totally acknowledge, like, we are on the shoulders of giants.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
people who have literally, slaved away and like who have given and lost so much because of their identity. And I
Right.
think what also is like what is beautiful and what I love is like this project. It's a departure as far as genre is concerned,
Right.
because like we're seeking to make like a worship album that is kind of like within the popular style of worship music right now.
Yeah.
That's one thing I think that sets it apart. And two, I think having like such a diverse group of openly queer
Right.
Christians is like, I mean, it's not new, obviously, because like there's been tons of openly queer artists out there who have been making it. I think, but the way that the collaboration is working now, the way that we're working like not just with like individual indie artists, but like we want to go so large scale with this,
Oh
working
yeah.
with industry professionals, people who have written with the best of the best.
Yeah.
I'm just ready for something of this caliber.
Yes.
Like that's what really sets it apart. Something of this caliber, this huge,
Yeah.
to make an impact on the industry in such a way that we can actually turn the tide when
Right.
it comes to having conversation of what does a Christian look like.
Right. And what's so interesting to me, and when we talk about this project and we talk about the caliber of this project, there's so many beautiful people involved in this that make money at doing music, right? Like they're very successful at what they do. And so it's really awesome to have people contributing their time, their talents. But then also it's like, we have this opportunity, like you're saying, to really make a statement, right? We can make a statement as a community, as a holistic church, and say, we need to have this dialogue because, quite frankly, some of the God moments that people have had, in their churches when that queer worship leader was singing, but they just didn't know that they were queer, and they had that really good God moment that changed everything for them. Those are the same people that are going to be a part of and singing on this. They're just open about it now. Yeah. And I think it's just interesting to me. I even tell people that, that I've had the opportunity of leading in worship. It's like, I'm the same person, you just know a little bit more about me now, but I'm the same person. And, I'm just openly queer. I accept myself. And I think that makes me actually more authentic, and more qualified to actually lead worship, to be real honest. And so I think it's a beautiful thing. And, we're going to, this project, I do kind of want to go back to what you said about the fact that there are people who have come before us. And, this is really big on my heart to make sure that we honor the people who have come before us, because there are people who we don't even know, right, who have sacrificed their life to stand up and speak truth, and to live in truth, and to live authentically. And that deserves nothing but our utmost respect and our and honor, total honor. And for everyone who has released a worship album, for everyone who has pushed this whole thing forward so that we could arrive to this moment and even attempt to try to do something like this, my heart, my everything inside of me thanks you for what you have done to bring us to this moment. And everything in my heart honestly wants to partner together. And I think we have to, as a community, partner together to move forward, to move this thing even further. And so we are going to be very intentional about even hearing from some of those voices that have come before us. And, whether that's through, the blog and the newsletter that we have coming out that you guys are going to definitely want to be attached to. But we have so many voices that need to be heard. And I think this is the perfect, way to do that.
Yeah. I think it's like in so many ways, and like just within like queer ministry and queer advocacy work in general, like we're doing something for the first time.
Yeah.
As far as something in this scale is
Right.
concerned, and I think just like that question or that statement applies to just the new church. I've been getting this phrase that keeps coming up in my mouth when I keep talking about the thing God is doing right now, and the phrase "the new church" is still like resonating with me, and I don't know like if that's going to be a book later in life for me. It probably is, but like the way I think about the new church is one that is still connected to like the very ancient practices that happened, but like we're not putting old wine in old wineskins, or putting new wine in old wineskins. Like this is the moment where like we're finally like we have the new wine, that's us, the blood is dripping, and now I think together as a community we are starting to sew up the new wineskins. We're starting to shore up our new spaces to contain all this goodness that God wants to pour out. And I think that it's going to come a lot with, like you said, partnership, and it's going to come through people. Especially for this, I'm doing this podcast for two reasons. One, I want people to know about you, Innovative Love Coalition, and also like this is an ask. Like if you're listening to this right now and you haven't looked at the Kickstarter or backed the Kickstarter, I'm telling you, this matters. This is one of the more important things that's going to happen in our lifetime. I think. And not just this one particular album. I know there's always going to be another project. There's always going to be another thing. And at the same time, it's just like, just because like that's the whole point, is that there's always more. There's always abundance. There's always good things. And if we can get this first project off the ground, and we can start, figuring out like, revenue streams that are going to help make queer Christian artists and allies, like make this like a formidable section of the industry, because we should, like we're just as good, if not better. No, I'm just going to say it. We are better than Bethel. Let me just put it out there, because here's the tea. All of these other, elevation worships, your Bethels, your Hillsong United, your Hillsong Young and Frees, they're all attached to ministries that are not affirming. They're attached to ministries that, if at Bethel, they're outright telling you, oh, there's a way to be changed, to leave your same-sex attraction behind. And I'm like, I no longer want to give my money to organizations and ministries, even through royalty and streaming fees, that's going to put $1 in the pocket of a pastor who's going to tell someone that they ain't loved. Because you know what? I ain't about it.
And the fact that...
Woo! Sorry, I got real pumped.
I love it. And the fact that, at the end of the day, I hear a lot of people saying, we don't want to sing... so some of these songs actually trigger us, right? We go into our church communities and we hear certain songs.
Ocean.
And we get triggered.
Bring on Ocean.
Right. And we get triggered and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. But I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to do, even with this project, is to give songs that we can sing in our spaces so we can move past those trigger points, right?
Yeah. I'm so ready to just be like, not having to police language on every song. I'm so ready to like not have to change pronouns when I'm talking about God. Like we can just like write a song from the get-go that's keeping in mind all of the things that we deserve. Absolutely. And I think that's the beautiful opportunity that we have right now, is to really from the foundation of it, we get to put in exactly what we want to put into the project, and already from the start, from the moment we put the pen to the paper, we can be, keeping in mind that all people need to be able to worship to this. And I think that's beautiful. Yeah. I think that like rounds it out real nicely.
Yes,
you?
I do.
So before we hang up, and obviously I'm going to have all this information in the show notes, but tell humans where they can find you on social media, as well as where they can connect with Innovative Love.
Absolutely. So me, you can find me on Instagram at Gattison Official. So
AKA Gat Daddy.
Gat Daddy Official. If
you don't change your handle right now.
Gat Daddy Official. Yeah, no, I mean, if you type that in, I'm not sure what you're going to see. You may like it, you may not. So it is what it is. But
it's actually just pictures of Gattison.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. If you literally want to find me at Gattison Official, so Gattison, you can find me there. You can connect with me there about that's more my mainstream music and just me as a human being. And then if you want to connect with Innovative Love Coalition, you can do that on Instagram as well, or Facebook. And if you type in Innovative Love Coalition, you will be able to find it there, or literally you could just get on innovativelovecoalition.com and it will point you into whatever direction socially you want to be connected in. It also will, on our website, you can get plugged in. You can click the link and fill out a really short questionnaire just to kind of let us know a little bit about yourself and how you would like to be plugged in. And we will definitely do that and get you plugged in with somebody, a part of the team.
Yeah. And also, additionally, if you go to my Instagram profile or anywhere on my social media, I've been posting the Kickstarter all over the place. Follow Innovative Love Coalition at We Are ILC on Twitter. And again, all these links are in the show notes. And just again, from me, from Gattison, from the entire ILC crew, thank you in addition, already. Because here's the thing. We are asking a big number, nearly $4,500. Used to say $45,000. Yes. That's a shit ton of money. But here's how it breaks down. We know 45 people in this world have $1,000, right? There's 45 people in this world who have $1,000. So all we really got to do is find 45 people. Or we know 90 people who have $500 that we can give. Or we have, it just breaks down into those things. So if you're someone out there, so even if you can't give, somebody in your family who's got $50 that can throw it that way. So if you're listening to this, share this podcast on social media, share the Kickstarter link on social media, and let's get this thing funded because we have less than 25 days to do it. We're just over 5% funded, which is not a lot. Yeah. And let me tell you what, I am not going to rest until this thing is funded. And even after it's not funded, I want more because let's tell you what, I have a kingdom.
Yes, come on, somebody.
That was my conversation with Kyle Gattison, a.k.a. Gat Daddy, a.k.a. Gattison. If you want to follow Gattison, you can just check him out across social media at Gattison. Also, be checking out, obviously, Innovative Love Coalition across social media at Innovative Love Coalition. And on Twitter, we are ILC. You can go back to the Kickstarter. Those links are going to be in the show notes. And seriously, if this gets you as excited as this gets me, I'm telling you, this has been my dream for forever. I've told people multiple times that if I ever got the chance to do music, I would give up everything. And the best part is, I don't have to give up everything. I don't have to give up anything because we live in a kingdom of abundance, y'all. And so I know that, for so many of us, yes, we are struggling. We're living paycheck to paychecks. But here's the deal. Even if you don't have the coins to give it, somebody in your network does. Listen, because I was thinking about this yesterday. We need basically $45,000 to really do this project the way we want to do it. That's just 45 people giving $1,000 one time. There are 45 people in Atlanta who have $1,000. I know that much. There are 45 people, in the state of Georgia who have $1,000. There's definitely 45 people in the United States who have $1,000. So all we have to do is go find them. All we have to do is just say yes and invite them. So what you're doing when you share this on your social network is sharing it out multiple streams. Multiple people are going to see it. So don't think that you don't have anything to contribute to this project, because you do. Social media is power, my friends. The voice that we have because of it is power. So please, even if you can't back the Kickstarter at as little as $5 or $10 or $15, even if you can't give that much, you can share this on social media. So stop what you're doing unless you're driving, keep doing that. But wherever you are, go ahead and go to the Kickstarter, which is you can find through all of our social media channels, and share this. Share it far and wide, okay? Do I sound desperate enough? I hope so. Anyways, Thank you to Kyle Gattison for starting this project and letting me be a part of it. And thank you to all of you who have backed it so far. And thank you to everyone who's going to hear this and be like, yes, I want in on the queer future, BB. Woo-woo. Okay, credits time. A Tiny Revolution is backed by 144 amazing humans on Patreon. And if you didn't know what that is the easiest way for someone like you to back the creators in your life that are creating the content that matters. So if you think this podcast is important and you want more content like it, please consider becoming a supporting partner on Patreon. You can learn more about that at patreon.com/thekevingarcia. And I think that's all I have to say. Oh, I'm going to be at Wild Goose this summer, so if you have not signed up for that, you can go over to wildgoosefestival.org and get your tickets. I'm doing a podcast with the one and only Science Mike, aka Mike Maharg, and I'm quite thrilled. Quite thrilled. So anyways, until next time, go ahead and make an appointment with your therapist. I just did yesterday, so, ooh, Jesus, we got things to talk about, honey. Take your meds, make sure you are drinking enough water, eat something. I sometimes forget to eat, and I get really hangry. It's not a cute look, let me tell you. So, yeah, I think that's everything. All right, I love you, BBs. We'll talk soon. Bye.